There's a lot of different Spider-Man out there. There's a Spider-Man that's awkward and nerdy. There's a Spider-Man that's a clone. There's a Spider-Man from the future. And there's even a Spider-Man that's actually just as Octavius in Peter Parker's body. The point is, there are countless variations of Spider-Man, and they all come with their own unique qualities that fans know and love. With the lack of new movies coming out, I wanted to take some time to look back at the very first Spider-Man that I was ever introduced to. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man Trilogy, arguably some of the most popular comic book movies to this day, despite being made almost 20 years ago. These movies are what made me fall in love with the comic book genre. With modern comic book movies being part of a huge universe filled with crazy action set pieces, I want to see how well the fan-favorite Sam Raimi trilogy holds up today. The original Spider-Man movie came out 18 years ago and stars Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. For me, this film was what made me a fan of Spider-Man in the first place. Watching this film again after so many years, I see now that it has a lot of cheesy moments and dialogue.
Change? Yeah. Big change.
But to me, the direction that Sam Raimi took with this film really makes it feel like a classic comic book come to life. What makes this film so great to me is that it's about more than just a person with spider powers. Instead, it focuses a lot on Peter and the relationships with the people around him.
And I know I'm not your father.
Then stop pretending to be.
Right away, we are introduced to all the important characters and are shown what kind of people they are through their different interactions. Peter Parker is the awkward nerd that everyone makes fun of in school. Harry Osborn is his best friend, who is constantly disappointing his father, Norman Osborn, a rich CEO who is kind of an asshole.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
Mary Jane is Peter's love interest, who is a person who wants to be more than what people expect her to be. Sam Raimi gives us all the information we need to understand Peter and the world around him in the first few scenes in order to focus on what really matters to the story, which is the growth and change that all these characters have. Peter's story is about him learning to be a hero, and more importantly, becoming a man. In the beginning of the film, Peter takes advantage of his powers and uses them for his own personal gain. He beats up his bully Flash and fights in a wrestling match in order to buy a car and impress MJ. But following the death of Uncle Ben, Peter learns that his powers aren't going to make his life easier, and that
With great power comes great responsibility.
this is the moment Peter's life will change forever. Norman, on the other hand, has a complete opposite story arc of Peter. Norman is on the verge of losing his company, which starts his descent into madness and becomes less of a human because of this.
I started this company. You know how much I sacrificed?
Willem Dafoe's performance as the Green Goblin is one of my favorite things from this movie. The way he's able to switch from Norman Osborn to Green Goblin is honestly amazing.
You killed them.
We killed them.
We?
Remember your little accident in the laboratory?
But probably the best character this movie has to offer is the city itself. The main appeal of the Spider-Man character is that he's relatable, and what better way to portray that than to make the city of New York itself feel real and alive. Unlike other comic book movies, where New York is just a green screen background for heroes to fight in, Sam Raimi brings life to the city by making each and every character that we meet unique and full of personality. That's why even after 18 years, we remember side characters such as Bonesaw, J. Jonah Jameson, this armed robber, and even the wrestling announcer. Obviously I'm a bit biased, but Sam Raimi created a movie that captures exactly what Spider-Man means to me. Spider-Man isn't meant to be some super soldier built in a lab. He isn't meant to be a rich playboy CEO. And he isn't meant to go into space and fight aliens. To me, Spider-Man is just your average kid off the street who has a good heart and wants to help out as many people as he can. This idea that any of us can be Spider-Man is why so many people love the character and why I love the Sam Raimi movie so much. Despite being almost 20 years old, the themes and characters of this film are equal to and sometimes even better than some comic book movies today. And all this gets even better in Spider-Man 2.
Impressive!
Spider-Man 2 takes everything good from the first film and makes it 10 times better. The action, the cinematography, the story, the characters, almost everything is improved on. Peter Parker's life takes center stage as the movie starts out with the best sequence of events in film history.
It's pizza!
The story picks up sometime after the first film, and we get a look at how our characters have changed since we last saw them. Harry is the new CEO of Oscorp and wants revenge for the death of his father. MJ leaves her abusive home to become an actress. And Peter is a complete mess as he tries to balance out his life as Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Most people would think having superpowers would make their life easier, but this movie shows that it has only made life for Peter even harder. Any positive effect Spider-Man brings to the city causes a negative effect for Peter Parker. Peter loses his job because he's Spider-Man. Peter can't pay rent because he's Spider-Man. Peter is failing class because he's Spider-Man. And Peter even loses his friends because he's Spider-Man. The struggle of trying to be a hero and Peter Parker eventually leads to losing his powers. Sam Raimi starts the movie off with Peter delivering pizzas to tell the audience that this will be a Peter Parker story. This is one of my favorite Spider-Man films because we can all understand the struggle that each of these characters face. Obviously none of us have superpowers, but as a young adult who is currently in college, I can relate to Peter Parker more than ever. The struggle of maintaining your relationships, the struggle of making money, the struggle of our classes, and the struggle of discovering who you want to be as a person. These are all problems that most of us experience throughout our lives. Peter Parker idolizes Dr. Octavius because he represents what Peter wants in life. Octavius is a person who has his life together, a successful career as a scientist, along with a happy and loving wife. But within a few minutes, Octavius loses all of that and turns into a monster. Peter Parker no longer has someone he can look up to, and starts to have doubts. Peter can no longer live up to his uncle's dreams, and eventually, he chooses to give up being Spider-Man in order to focus on being Peter Parker. This allows him to focus on his school and friends again. This is the happiest Peter has been in years. Unfortunately, Peter can't ignore his call to action forever. He's a hero at heart. He can't ignore the burning building in front of him, literally. Aunt May gives Peter a motivational speech about what a hero means to people, and how there's a hero in everybody.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
This gives Peter perspective and the courage to come back as Spider-Man, and be the hero that he needs to be. Later in the movie we have Spider-Man fighting Doc Ock, which leads into the famous train scene, which is personally one of my favorite moments out of any comic book film. This moment is not only great because of Spider-Man, what makes this moment stick out to me is what follows.
You want to get to him, you got to go through me.
Like I said before, the city of New York is as much of a character as any, and this moment really shows that. These aren't just extras on a set, these feel like real people, and all of them are stepping up in order to protect the man that's been their hero for years. The ending fight also touches on a lot of themes spawned throughout the film. Spider-Man defeats Doc Ock not with violence, but by helping him realize who he really is, which is a scientist who has always wanted to use his gifts and privileges for the greater good. I think Doc Ock's final words really hit home on what this movie is about.
I will not die a monster.
Doc Ock fights against what the world has given him, and instead chooses the type of person he wants to be. This also reflects on the character arc Peter has throughout the movie as well. Overall, I think Spider-Man 2 speaks on a lot of topics that most people can relate to today. Obviously, whether or not this is the best comic book movie of all time is up to personal opinion, but if you're a Spider-Man fan, or just a fan of the comic books in general, Spider-Man 2 is definitely a movie you need to watch. This film tells a great story about what it means to be a hero, and more importantly, choosing the kind of person you want to be. While Spider-Man 2 might be considered the best comic book film among some fans, the sequel Spider-Man 3 is definitely the most controversial of them all.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm...
The film picks up soon after the ending of the last movie, where Peter and MJ are now together, and Harry finds out that his father's killer is actually his best friend. Personally, I feel like the beginning of this film is a bit messy compared to previous movies. The film introduces 4 different storylines that are completely separate from each other, all in the first 10 minutes. We have Peter and MJ's relationship troubles, Harry wanted to kill Peter, the introduction of Venom, and the backstory of Clint Marco. For me, these 4 different plotlines already make the film a little bit too complicated. A big reason why the first 2 films worked so well is because the story was simple and easy to follow. This allowed audiences to pay more attention to the complex character development that all the characters have. The origins for our villains aren't fleshed out either, Venom literally drops out of nowhere from the sky, and Peter along with Dr. Connors don't seem to care that there's an actual alien in front of them. Sandman's powers also kinda just come out of nowhere. He falls into this pit, which is also a science experiment, and then randomly turns into sand and walks out like nothing happened. With so many things happening in the movie, it's hard to keep track of all of it. It's well known that Sam Raimi originally did not want Venom in this film, but was forced by Sony to include the character. Personally, I don't hate Venom in this movie. Seeing Peter with the black suit is honestly some of my favorite moments out of the entire trilogy.
See you, chump.
But it is unfortunate that other characters had to get less screen time and overall less character development because of the black suit. Despite all the criticism surrounding the movie, as a whole I still think it's very enjoyable. The action, the cinematography, the character moments, everything still feels like a Sam Raimi film. While this may not be the perfect ending to the trilogy, it definitely has a spot as one of my favorite Spider-Man films, even with all the issues with the story and characters. I would have loved to see Sam Raimi's original plan for this film, because although it was nice to see Venom in live action, the character arcs for Sandman and especially Harry could have been handled a lot better. Without any interference from Sony, we definitely could have had something that was as great as previous films. Having watched all 3 movies in a row, I can say that I really enjoyed each one, and all for different reasons too. Spider-Man 1 is a classic origin movie, full of character and intense action. Spider-Man 2 improves on everything from the first film, and touches on a lot of important themes such as what it means to be a hero. And with Spider-Man 3, there are a lot of things that could have been changed to make the film better in terms of story, but if you enjoyed the first 2 films, then you're going to have a lot of fun watching this one. Unfortunately, Sony cancelled Spider-Man 4, and instead it got rebooted into The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. Obviously, no hate can be directed towards Garfield or anyone else working on the reboot, but I do wish we had gotten to see more Spider-Man films from Sam Raimi. The director has a unique style that makes his movies come alive and feel just like a comic book. You can tell that Sam Raimi really knows and cares for the character Spider-Man just by watching his movies. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again.